What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 41 of the RUDIS Wrestling Podcast, back from NCAAs. So we're gonna wrap it up today, Matt. We talked about everything else. We haven't talked about the finals. We'll talk about that, and then tomorrow we'll already start looking forward to next year. So, where do you want to start at?
Yeah, I think we should just jump into the finals. I think that's what everybody was chomping at the bit. They were waiting for this on Saturday night, but you had to head up to Cleveland and run up there. So we're
Yeah.
back to our remote locations. It
Well,
was
yeah,
kind of
and
kind of nice being in the studio with you for the weekend, and now we're back to our regular routine.
it is a lot easier doing the podcast in the same room. It's just so much simpler. Um, I will tell. Let's just say thank you to everyone. We got some really good viewership over the weekend. I mean, I'm looking at a couple of these podcasts from the NCAAs, Matt, and they're over 9,000 views. So we appreciate that you guys are tuning into us, listening. We hope that it helped make your NCAA viewing experience a little bit better. And so let's wrap this up. Let's start with the 133-pound match. So sitting in the stands, I didn't realize that it was so controversial. Um, do you just want to go straight to the headgear pull, or do you want to talk about the whole match together?
Well, I think there's got to be some context there. You know,
Sure.
there was some stuff that was happening even before the headgear grab or the supposed headgear grab, and I think it almost started with. I mean, we could talk about stalling calls, lack
Well,
thereof,
all these
maybe.
Oklahoma State fans are being really dramatic, though. I seen a handful of really high-level OSU Cowboys with the picture of Nick Suriano's hand on Daton's head as their profile picture on different social media outlets. So I was just chuckling about that one to myself. That they're so butthurt about it. Um,
I think it actually started before that when they actually used their last challenge for hands in the face,
well, they shouldn't have, Matt.
and
They shouldn't have even had a challenge to challenge the headgear pull. So I don't even know why it was reviewed.
well, I think there was an outside influence. I don't think typically when it comes to a review on the mat, the officials have to make that call, but it looked like, you with all the emotion and everything that was going on, John Smith was getting in their face saying, "You gotta review
Not
this, you
just
gotta
John
review this."
Smith, Matt. The entire Oklahoma State coaching staff was like on the mat barraging the referees. And you and I both complained about how they have these nice little rugs and colors. And then day one and day two, they're giving team points to everybody
Yeah, I
for.
mean, that's
But
that's
then
that that's the
the
that's
finals
the
wasn't
crazy thing,
staying.
like, that's the thing, there's always a point of emphasis every year at the beginning of the year, before the conference championships, before the NCAA tournament. The point of emphasis by the NCAA is control of mat area. You can't leave the little triangle corner in your mat space. If you leave that at any time, it's automatic. You're supposed to be warned for control of mat area.
Dude, Oklahoma State
And
would have went from 3rd place to 6th place if they would have kept that rule in the finals.
yeah, and they just and that's my problem. Obviously, you want to use a little discretion in big match situations where you don't want to get slap happy with your penalties, but that's a black and white call, especially after you lose the hands to the face call, and
Yes.
then you want to you want to jump in, and there was, I mean, we'll get into that. It was warranted. What their displeasure was
The
about the head
headgear
grab
grab.
pull,
I
but
have mixed
still.
feelings about it. So I have mixed feelings, but okay,
Yeah, so
keep going.
I for me, it started right, at the hands to the face, and I know there's a lot of people, saying sour grapes. They can't believe that John Smith, threw the challenge block in there for hands to the face, but like it or not, that's a rule in the rule book right now, and
Yes.
so you can't just coach on principle, right? If the rule's in the rule book, you have to argue it. So I
And,
get.
and and that wasn't the only time that during the weekend, during the championships, that we saw the challenge brick thrown for a hands to the face call. We saw it happen multiple times during the championships. So it's not like, obviously this was the most high profile situation, but this was not the only time it happened.
Right. And so obviously, I mean, that's something we'll probably talk later on. There's got to be clarity to that. They've got to clarify the hands in the face. And I'm not a big fan of the rule. I was worried all season, as were you, that it's going to cost someone in a big situation. And it did in a couple matches over the weekend, but
Yeah, Hidley
kind of glad
Pentalio.
it, yeah, Hidley Pentaleo. but yeah, I mean, I think you have to call it. I mean, it's
Do you have to
there
call it or you have
at
to
your
throw it?
discretion.
I
You
didn't
you
really think
have
this
to.
I didn't really think this was hands to the face. Is that what you're saying? It was hands to the face, you think?
No, I didn't, but I
Okay.
see
You see what
I
John
see
Smith
where
was
they
getting at.
called it in that situation. Obviously, there's no points being scored,
Yeah.
and nobody had really sniffed a point up into that point, and it looked like it was going to play out into overtime like it has in their matches in on
Well,
previous occasions.
one thing you said in the pre-match show, or maybe it was Friday night, and it played out. And maybe this, and so let's kind of put this whole match together. Is that Suriano was way more aggressive than he has been in previous attempts. That's what you said he needs to do. He was. He
Throughout the whole tournament, throughout the
but
whole
but
tournament.
let's talk specifically finals. He's way more aggressive than he usually is against Dayton. He's pushing him around. He's controlling center. He has more attacks, and really the entirety of it, because neither one rode for very long. I mean, I want to say 20, 30 seconds tops for both guys. And yet Dayton didn't get called for stalling one time. Not war. Not I mean, I don't even believe warned. Correct? Or maybe
Correct.
warned. Finally, maybe it was an
I
overtime. He
think he
got
did
warned.
get warned. He did get warned at some point, and I get that wrestling isn't a sumo match, right? You've got to be executing techniques, you got to be attacking, you got to be looking to score. But as far as Suriano came out, got to a knee early, not just a half attack, a full fledged
He was
attack,
going
trying to
for it.
get
He
it.
was going
He
for
was
it.
going for it. He was
Absolutely.
controlling the ties. He was controlling center. He was controlling mat area. And so I thought for sure there was a stalling call that was warranted somewhere in regulation, and there
But
wasn't
it
any
wasn't,
of it.
and the crowd was getting, pretty up in arms. I mean, the crowd was, I don't wanna say they were into it, but, they were getting fired up. So there was a stall warning with 20 seconds left in overtime, was the first stall warning against Dayton.
Which you can't. I mean, are you serious? 8 minutes of action
Yeah.
without any offensive points scored and only one stall call?
Eh
That just
eh
doesn't happen.
yeah, and this is one thing that I was really annoyed about, is that Suriano took the stall warning on top in the beginning of the second period, which you and I were sitting together, and I'm just like, "Nick, let him go. You're not gonna ride him for ride time. What's the freaking point here?" You know? So he takes the stall warning there, and then it comes back to bite him in the butt, where he got called for stalling with essentially 0 seconds left, which, I thought that was fairly questionable in the first overtime ride-out period. So he did, even though Dayton got the point, he rode Dayton out for the first overtime ride-out, but he took the stall point. So to me, and that's why I hate these mandatory stallings they have now. In some ways it is taking away some of the bad things people do, but in other situations like this, where if you say, for who's the aggressor in this match, who is being more offensive, it's absolutely unequivocally, it's Nick Suriano. There's no doubt about it. But Nick Suriano is the one that gets the stalling point against him.
And
It's
that's
so
and
dumb.
that's and that's what's so frustrating when they don't call the entirety of the match. They don't take contextually what's been going on, that Suriano's definitely dictated pace, dictated action. And then it's really frustrating that they call situational stalling. Like, oh, it fits this criteria, and
Yes, I
therefore
hate it.
I feel
Well,
compelled. I have
not
to make
not
a stalling
compelled.
call here.
They feel like they have to. Like
They
they
have
have
to.
to. And it's so annoying. It's really, and so that would be, what I would say, Matt. And again, I've brought this up to you a few times this year, but I think now, I've been a spectator for a handful of years. I'm not coaching at the college level, and I would really, really, really like to see something. And I know this control area where the coaches cannot badger the referees this much. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. I mean, they need to shut up, sit down, coach their wrestlers. I mean, some of these coaches, like, it's not like they're saying one thing or two thing, which I could be okay with, Matt. They are like talking to the referees the entirety of the match. And that is, so essentially, you're these referees, and you got, I mean, Tom Brands, John Smith, Kilster, these are kind of scary dudes, right? That are flipping out on you, talking to you. I mean, Kale's actually one of the better ones when it comes to talking to referees. He doesn't do it as much, but the referees essentially want these mandatory stallings instituted, because then there's not much judgment in their hands, and they're kind of like, hey man, I got to call it. That's a simple. It's a rule. I got to do it, and that way the coaches aren't badgering them even more about an interpretation of the rule. Does that make sense?
No, that makes complete sense. And this is my other frustration. Like, hey, again, they call control the mat control the mat area situationally. Like if you go round 2 of the NCAA tournament and you get a guy from, say, I don't know, Bloomsburg storming to the head table, what are they gonna do right away? Boom, they're gonna ding
Team
him.
point, yes.
They're gonna ding him, control the mat area, ding him
Yeah.
again, team point. So, that's my problem. Don't don't call it one way throughout the tournament and then change up how you're supposed to be calling it because that's what they want. You're saying they want their cake and eat it too. They're saying
They are. They're having
structure the
that.
rules, structure the rules so it takes responsibility away from me, the official. And yet, when there's a black and white call and they don't call it, I'm like, I have a problem with that.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
control the mat area, black and white. It's supposed to be black and white.
And
And
but so
when
let's
the
go.
when
I mean, what good okay, I got the control of man area. But what do you think about my point that the referees actually if they're kind of working against themselves and they kind of like the fact that there's these mandatory stall calls because the coaches are badgering them so much.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have any
I
argument
I,
there.
I
I
was
I I
almost
completely
thinking,
agree.
Matt, I was almost thinking, what if you put a and the other thing is the coaches chirping at each other. That's just, and I'm sure I did that when I was younger, but it's really annoying to watch them chirp at each other or puff their chests out. It's just like, just shut up, just coach your wrestler. Like if there was some type of wall, so the coaches could only see the mat, but they couldn't see like the other coaches, and it would also kind of create a nice barrier. Possibly for the referees to kind of be in that area so that the coaches can't get at them. I know
So
that would
I
that
mean,
would
this is stupid, and I'm saying this in jest for the most part, but, you could almost do like what the NFL does. You put a microphone in the headphone in the headgear of your wrestler and have a headset in the coach's corner, and
ah,
you could just talk to your athlete directly, and then you kinda, mitigate some of those extra things that go on, but, you know, I mean, all these coaches, they're high level competitors too. When you're in the heat of the situation, when emotions on the line, I mean, you get into it and it's hard. I
yeah.
get your point where just focus on your wrestler, but sometimes in the heat of it, I get where you feel inclined to maybe say something to the other corner. I mean, I don't think that's
But
exclusive to the sport
it's
of
almost
wrestling.
yeah, no, listen, I get that it's gonna happen sometimes. I get that, but it's more that it's just for some of these coaching staffs, it seems like it's all the time. That's what it seems like, and I don't like that, at all. So,
No,
yeah,
just focus on your guys. Really, I mean, focus on your guys. What's it going to be doing? For me to yell at the other corner outside of making me feel a little better in the moment, it's not accomplishing anything. If
not
anything,
accomplishing anything.
it's detracting you
Yes.
from the focus which should be on your wrestler in the heat of the moment.
Yes, I agree. Okay, let's wait. We're having. I think we're having a total ADHD morning, Matt. Let's get back to this fixed Suriano match. We're gonna get all the way through it. I promise. Okay, so then in the double overtime, Daton gets both. Well, first of all, Nick Suriano almost defensive pins him, and then Daton gets both boots in, and they end up stalemating it. I was totally okay with this stalemate, but I've seen other people pissed about it. What do you take? What's your take?
Well, again, you're calling a certain situation situationally. I mean, there haven't been a lot of situations where you see double boots in and they stalemate it after 10 seconds. So typically in regulation, if a guy gets double boots in, which I have thoughts about double boots and is that stalling or whatnot. But in regulation, typically you get double boots in. I mean, Daton Fixed, we've seen him ride out
Yeah,
guys for an entire period with double legs
Austin
in.
Austin
And then
DeSanto.
yeah, and then they call a stalemate with
I
what,
don't, but
10 seconds to go?
but okay, I'm okay with that being if you get double boots and you can't turn someone for 15 seconds, let's be done. Let's stalemate and back up a little every single time. No, I'm not just talking just in overtime, Matt, but if you get double boots in and you're not making progress toward a turn, stalemate, back up. Come on.
No, I agree. But you don't see that. What I'm saying is, again, the refs call it different in regulation than they do in the 30-second ride out.
Yeah.
And, in
That's a
that
good point.
situation, yeah, I mean, they hadn't called that on Fix, for the lion's share of the season with double boots in. I mean, that's what he does. He breaks you down, he gets both boots in, and he goes to work. He was doing the same thing against Suriano. I agree they should have giving him a restart. But I'm with you. I think in regulation, if you're not showing any activity to really dig in and turn the guy on top, they should stalemate that right away within 15 to 20 seconds.
Yeah. So I would agree. So let's go. Uh, Last point. Headgear grab. Ah, man, to me, it looks like he touches it, but the way his motion goes afterwards, and I've seen a handful of headgear grabs, like the Valencia Hall one comes to mind. It's weird the way he touches it. You can't see me right. I wish you could see me right now. He touches it with his left hand, but it's not like he pulls it and then he drops down to the legs on his right side, and so it doesn't appear to me. Now it appears that Daton kind of stopped wrestling or was kind of worried about it. Um, but it doesn't appear to
And
me
that's Dayton's fault,
that's
right?
Dayton's
I
fault.
mean,
Yes,
he was looking for the ref to make a call, and you never hear a coach say,
ever.
"Hey, if he's grabbing your headgear, stop wrestling and look for the official." You never look
No,
for a
that's
ref
I
to
hear
make your call.
John Smith says that all the time.
And so you did. I mean,
Uh,
but you did. You see Fix stop wrestling, look up to the ref, and that I thought that was the moment where Suriano attacked him when he stopped wrestling. It
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
before
yeah.
that.
No,
Um,
and so,
and you did see a situation. Now, I tended to think, and I saw the clip you just sent me. It
yes,
definitely looked like his hand was in the headgear, but it wasn't looking like he was pulling Dayton's face down to the mat. It's almost
yeah.
like he was stiff arming him away to try and clear the leg
Well,
attack.
but you could do that. You could stiff arm with an open hand. So I mean, the one way I've seen it is say. So I don't know if you can picture this while we're talking, Matt. But if you do a left hand head and you pull them to your left and then you shoot to your right, so they're kind of going opposite directions. Um, I've seen people do that with the headgear grab, but to this one, I don't see how he's going to redirect him that effectively with the way he did. I think the big point is that Dayton stopped wrestling, and I'm not sure that Nick Suriano intentionally grabbed the headgear or had a purpose with it, because when most people do it, it's really quick and they know where they're going because they know it's illegal and they know if they get caught, they're getting called. That's not what it looked like to me.
No, I mean there didn't look like there was any malicious intent to that. It simply looked like he was posting him away, and then when you know he felt the hesitation in Fix because Soriano wasn't looking up at the situation. I mean, if you look at Soriano's face, he's looking into Fix's body,
Yes.
and when he felt him relax, he transitioned into the leg attack, and immediately Fix just fell to his far hip. So I think it was more, again,
So would you?
Fix hesitating.
You're the referee right now. You calling him for the point or not?
No,
No, I'm not
no.
either. Okay, that's good. Man, Matt, we just talked about we had 10 matches. We talked about one match for almost 20 minutes. So listen, and on top of that, I'm a big Dayton Fix fan, but I was happy to see Rutgers get their first, and they ended up getting their second, but their first national champion. I thought it was really nice to see Virginia Tech got one too. Northern Iowa had their first one in a very, very long time. So really kind of cool to see all those people have that amount of success at the highest level.
Really, really cool. And people were talking about this top end domination, and we were discussing parity. Is there more parity in the sport? Is there less parity? Are is it still you know the elite programs that have really created separation? But case in point, this tournament we had a program crown its first two national champs. Virginia Tech crowned its first national champ.
Yeah,
UNI their
ever.
first national champ in 20 years.
Yep.
So I think that bodes into there is more parity, and the wealth is being spread even more. I think it's great for the sport, and I was really really proud of those programs. Really happy for Tony Roby at Virginia Tech. Really happy for Scott Goodale and the Rutgers program. The amount of work he's put in there for a decade to finally see that the ultimate payoff with the national champ. So yeah, it was absolutely fantastic for the sport.
Okay, cool. So let's take a step back. Let's get started at the beginning of the night, which started at heavyweight, which neither you and I really liked. I did. Bo Nickel is obviously he's going to be the Hodge winner. I just did not think that was the highlight match of the night. I thought you could have done Chenzo Lewis. I thought more likely you do Hall Valencia or you do um Ashnall, Jordan. I mean, those are the ones that I really liked. But I mean, how do you feel about starting at heavyweight?
No, I mean, for me, I mean, when they switched up to go feature matches of the night,
Which I like. Now you think that's good, correct?
which is great, but it shouldn't be a coronation. And it felt
Yes.
to me like putting Nickal last, and not that he didn't deserve it, but it seemed like, well, this is the coronation of who is probably going to be the Hodge winner, and they've never done that before. For me, it should have been 174. That's the only weight with two national champs in it.
Yeah.
And that seemed like the logical one for me was 174. Should have been the feature match of the night.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. So heavyweight starts it off. Man, just not that great of a match. There's no attacks till the end of the second period. At the end of the second period, Anthony Cassar gets on a leg, and to me, I'll tell you what it looked like. It looked like Derek White thought if I give up this takedown, and it was going to be a ride out because there was only like say 8 seconds left or something. Um, if I give up this takedown, I am not going to win this match. So I am going to try everything in my power to not give up this takedown. So he dives for the leg pass, doesn't work out. It's hard. It's hard to leg pass at heavyweight. You could do it. It's just really challenging. So Cassar got the takedown with 3 seconds left. Matt, I went and looked, so I corrected myself. And so he gets the takedowns, gets the backs, and then it's just done. He gets another takedown in third period, and White doesn't even get off his belly. Um, I like the fact that Cassar only won one high school state title. He never qualified before then. He qualifies one time in the NCAAs and he wins the NCAA title. I thought that was a pretty cool story.
It's pretty amazing closing stats there, right? You
Yeah,
get one out,
absolutely.
your closing rate is 1 for 1 and 1 for 1, high school and college. It's pretty good. It was interesting to me to see how Kassar continued to develop and adapt throughout the season and adjust to heavyweight, because we saw him kind of get dominated
Because this was his
by
only season at heavyweight. Only
right.
season. Crazy.
And when he saw White for the first time, he kinda got controlled
Yes.
completely. It seemed like he wasn't used to the weight, wasn't, used to adjusting not only to a huge guy, but a huge athlete that could actually move.
Yep.
And to see the adjustments he made against the bigger heavyweights, and to see how he was able to duplicate, the Big Ten performance in the semifinals against Stevenson, and then make the adjustments he made against White in the finals. It was just a series of adjustments throughout the whole year for Kassar, and I think he definitely deserved and was deserving of the heavyweight crown, and was happy to see him get it.
And I guess that there is a potential to be back next year. There's a potential for a 6 year. Um, he's had multiple shoulder injuries throughout his career, so I guess we'll wait and see there. 125. Really, the score is 6-0, but Lee gets the takedown right out first period, takedown early, right out, and then blah blah blah. Jack Mueller rode out the entire second period, and Matt, another one of those. Just like I was complaining about in the pitch and Lee match. I'm sorry, pitch and Lee. In the Fix Suriano match where Jack Mueller in the second period is really aggressive, he has a cradle locked up. He's got he's got a lot of stuff going on. And then because he gets to one of the mandatory stall calls, he gets called for stalling with 2 seconds left in the period and gives up the stall point, and he was the aggressor the entire period.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. And then so going into the third period, he's down 3-2 versus 3-0 versus 2-0, which that's kind of a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Huge deal.
And again, uh, when the microscope is on you, obviously, Saturday night you're going to get the most attention, because
Oh yeah.
there's
There's
no
only
other
one match.
there's no other matches going on. So,
Yeah.
there was calls like this going on all weekend. They're just not
Uh,
highlighted and put under a microscope
sure.
like they are during the finals. So I think I've heard a lot of people jumping on the refs for the finals, but I think they called it fairly
They
consistently
called it the way the rules were supposed to be
throughout the
called.
weekend.
In my opinion, they called it the way the rules are supposed to call. I'm not saying I dislike the referees. I'm saying I dislike that rule. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. No,
So
I'm with you. I mean, that's one of probably a handful of calls that we could really highlight and circle and say, "Hey, NCAA really needs to, and the rules committee probably really needs to revisit these things,
well,
and probably,
I
get."
mean, in order to get rid of the mandatory stallings, you have to have the coaches stop badgering the referees so much so the referees aren't fearful to make the correct call. Because some of these coaches are so aggressive, and the referees, I don't want to say they fear them, but there's a certain level of like, I just don't want to deal with that guy's gonna be on my ass. I don't want to deal with that guy.
They
Um,
do. Let's not say that the refs are immune to pressure. They're not.
they're
I
not.
mean, they feel pressure just like the athletes, just
Yes.
like the coaches, and they feel it from the fans. They're feeling it. They're feeling it from everybody. Um, so again, they're not immune to that, and especially when you get a lot of the bigger name coaches, you know, they do. Like it or not, they carry more weight. The
Yes.
bigger name programs and the bigger name
Absolutely.
coaches, they absolutely carry weight with what they say. So you got John Smith, you get Tom Ryan, you get Cale Sanderson breathing
Tom
down your neck.
Brands.
You're gonna feel it.
Yep,
Tom
absolutely.
Brands.
Absolutely. So, that makes it 3-0, not 2-0, and then, Spencer Lee ends up getting a takedown with about 14 seconds left of the third period. Um, a good, not great performance the whole weekend by Spencer Lee. I want to talk more about how I think this affects the Iowa program tomorrow, because I think Spencer had it was like for me, it was almost like a must win, and you
Right.
saw some of the videos. And let's talk more about that tomorrow, because man, we spent 20 minutes on Suriano Fix, so we gotta get moving here. All right, 141, more controversial
More
repping.
controversy.
Well,
Yeah.
man, these guys are getting good, and they're making the calls tough on the referees. Well, you know what is tough is that it's the instantaneous takedown, um, which I feel like is sometimes abided by and sometimes not abided by. And the fact is, when you have this many wrestling matches and this many situations, you're going to have some ones that are very questionable, and that some people are going to see it is a takedown. Some people will say it was not a takedown. So, from my vantage point, and you and I were not sitting together during these matches, I thought the first sequence, which they reviewed, I thought Yanni had the takedown. In the second sequence, and they did not give it to him. In the second sequence, I thought he did not have the takedown, and they gave it to him to go to overtime. So, um,
And then that opens up another discussion, which
what's
we've
that?
heard, and that's makeup calls by the ref later on in the match.
No, you don't. No, come on,
I
man.
do believe there's
Well,
something
why?
to
Why
that,
would he
and
do
and
him? Wait.
I'm with you. Wait, number 1, I'm with you.
Okay, why would
I
it? But in this
number 1, I think Yanni had the takedown
first one or
in
second,
regulation.
first one or second one?
First one, second one, I did not think, and
So
I kind
same.
of and if we want to introduce some more controversy, it's like, well, that was a makeup call. They
But
screwed
okay,
up.
but here's
They
what
know
I
they
would
screwed
say.
up.
Here's what I would say to that, Matt, is why would he do a makeup call at that point? He had the opportunity to give him the takedown when he really had it the first time. So why would he need to do a makeup call? Why wouldn't he have just given him the takedown the first time?
Heat of the moment, right? I mean,
I guess what
when
and you,
you're heat of the moment when you're calling like instant takedown, right? Which it should be
yeah.
called,
I thought the first one
and
could have been 2-2 potentially.
I actually thought potentially two. I actually thought 2-2 myself,
Yeah.
which again I think bodes more. I mean, lends itself more into my statement that it felt like a makeup call when they
Huh.
called the takedown.
Yeah, I mean, in
Because
that first
not only did they miss the takedown, I also felt they missed the back point. So that's
yeah,
not just a 2 point; that's a 4 point swing in the
in
match.
in that first scenario, when it actually happened and then they came out of it, and then I realized, holy crap, they didn't give him any points. I was like dumbfounded, like, how did he not? He didn't get anything there. Give me a freaking
Yeah.
break. So I was expecting 2-2 for sure. Yeah. So either way, we'll say the same thing. We'll say the same result happens. They go to overtime. Yanni gets the takedown. I think McKenna wrestled a great match, but Yanni is just the better wrestler, and he found a way to win when things kind of weren't going his way.
Yeah. Yep.
Fair?
I agree.
Okay,
Fair.
cool. 149, Schnalte mobbed. I got rid of my push-ups. I didn't have to do them anymore.
We're
Um,
back to 0.
back to 0. Slow first period from both wrestlers. And I think that's a credit to Schnalte didn't want to get that tired, and Micah didn't want to get taken down and go bottom. They kind of were a little bit fearful of each other. Second period, Ashton gets a takedown, gets the ride out. Third period, he gets the escape. Micah gets a takedown, and it's looking like he's going to come on back. And this is kind of what it'll take at Big Ten's, that he was going to come on back. And then Chenaulty gets the takedown, the back points, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah. I
So
mean, that's there's not much more to say to that. I thought
are you pretty
first
sad as an
period.
Ohio State? I don't know if you're an Ohio State fan. We'll say you live close to Columbus, so we'll say kind of
Well, no, I'm a Micah Jordan fan.
okay,
Like, I
Micah
mean,
Jordan. That's
it's
fair. So, but
that's where I can't remove my bias. I mean,
yeah.
his dad's one of my best friends, and so
Oh,
obviously,
really? I didn't know.
I,
I didn't. You never told me it was that. You were that close.
no, Jeff is one of my best
Best
friends.
friends.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow. Okay, I knew
yeah.
I knew you guys
So
were friends, but I didn't know. I mean, best friends, that's another level. I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah. I
cool.
mean, I've known Jeff since I was 5 years old. I've
Wow.
known the boys since they've all been in diapers. So,
Wow.
obviously, there's a rooting interest there.
Yeah.
But I do want to give Ashton credit, man. I mean, he wrestled a phenomenal year, phenomenal career, first four-time All-American for Rutgers.
And he was
Staying
really the
in.
guy that got it started for Rutgers, the good
He
Jersey guy
did.
that stays home.
He was the big name guy, the number one recruit in the country, the four-time state champ, the second four-time state champ, I think, or
I
first
believe I
four-time.
believe second. I think Gray was the
Second.
first.
Gray was the first, staying at home, putting the Rutgers mantle on his back, and, to see him win, be a four-time All-American and win a national title for Rutgers, there's a lot of credit to Ashton. Tough, hard-nosed guy coming back from an injury as well.
Yep.
So all the credit in the world to him. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's
Cor
not much to say. I mean, he
Cornell,
won the
Matt,
match.
they got Cornell, I'm sorry. Rutgers goes from 0 in 80 years to 2 in one night. Boom.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome for the sport, awesome for Rutgers, awesome for the sport of wrestling.
absolutely. Okay. Um, Next weight, 157. Man, you know what? I'm gonna say I love Jason Ulf. I was kind of disappointed. Um, I wanted to be. I thought he was gonna have a bloodbath after the close match, and he gets the huge lead. I think 8-2 or 9-2 first period, and just kind of shuts it down. I don't know. Man, I don't know. I feel like there was something. Maybe the pressure was getting to Jason Ulf, maybe something. But usually
I mean,
he
you can, you know what, Ben, you can almost say the same thing at 197, right? I thought there was
sure that
blood in the
was
water there
yeah,
for Bo Nickal, and he kinda shut it down a little bit, and,
yep,
I mean, you've been in this situation before, and it being in your senior year winning. I know for a lot of guys, there's different thoughts. There's probably, surprisingly enough, there's probably some really strange thoughts that actually crossed these guys' minds in
yeah.
their last college match. Before the
Re
match,
really
during the
kind
match,
of
at the
I
end
don't
of
wanna
it.
say the whole weekend for Jason Nolf, but the last 2 matches, definitely, almost a different guy than what we've seen typically, not as offensive, and, maybe there's an injury or an illness that we're not hearing about, I don't know, I just
Well, I think even these best guys, I mean, these guys are legends, right? These guys,
legends, yes.
Nolf and Nickal have almost reached iconic status with the way they performed. Um,
I mean,
but
they're they're all-timers. They're
they're
all-timers,
all
that's for
timers,
sure.
but even the all timers are not immune to pressure.
Sure, that's
And
fair.
I think they both probably felt a little bit of pressure. They probably felt, as much as they'd been in this situation, and it's a familiar environment being in the final and on the big stage 4 years in a row, but it's still, I mean, they're not immune to pressure. I'm sure there's some things that they were dealing with that they probably even didn't even recognize that they were going to have to deal with until they got into the situation. They're like, holy crap, this is my last match. I'm going for my third title. There's a little bit more to it, and where we naturally see this freedom from these guys to go out and just dominate and score points. Nolf and Nickal kind of, it seemed like they were kind of content just getting the final victory,
Yeah,
which is abnormal for us, which is
which is
normal for the most of the people.
abnormal for them.
Correct.
Yeah, so
Yeah, and what we've become accustomed with for 4 straight years.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna say, I'm I am caught in the middle with Nolf. And I know this is kind of not what we're doing right now, but looking forward, man, Nolf just seems too small for 74 kg. He's just not that big. He's a really
I
I
mean,
think
I
he's a
think that's
good size 70, but not that big for 74.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he shifts his focus because there's going to be an adjustment. It seems like he's probably too big to get down to 65,
I would
but
agree.
not
Yes.
big enough for 74. And
Yes.
we're not talking this year. We're projecting out into 2020 where his Olympic weight class is going to be and where
Yeah.
he's going to have the best opportunity to make the team. I'm with you. I mean, I think it's a logical question. It's a fair question. But I'm sure they already have a plan of action at Penn State where
Think
he's gonna
so?
be. I don't think he's going into this, the next 15 months thinking, "Oh, what am I gonna do? Do I go up? Do I go down?" I If I had to imagine, they've probably had this conversation well in advance, and there's a game plan set up about how they're going to pursue the next 15 months.
You would think so. That's kind of how they function
Yeah.
out there. Okay, that's fair enough. So let's go 165. I think Mekhi Lewis, one of the stories of the tournament, got the outstanding wrestler, which I mean, I would pick Bo Nickel, but I'll give it to Mekhi Lewis. He did a good job. I think one of the things that I that I guess I'm gonna complain about is when you say, well, he beat the 1, the 4, and the 2. Well, that's his own damn fault that he seeded 8th and he had to do that, right? If he would have had a better season,
Oh,
you
I mean,
shouldn't get bonus points for being
he only
bad
lost
seed.
2 matches. He only lost 2
I
matches
I
all
get
year.
it, but
So it's not like
he's still the 8th seed. My argument is that you should not get bonus points for being lower seeded. That shouldn't be a thing. I
no,
mean,
I
that
no, I'm with
so
you. I mean, I
I mean,
think
that would be like an award for like most unexpected great performance, but not just outstanding wrestler. And so
right.
I mean, he
But
has
there's again, when you're talking about the post-competition awards, there's bias to that too. I mean, like it or not, people are like, "Oh, are we gonna give it to a Penn State a guy again?" Which he deserves. I'm
again,
with you. Again. Like, should
again.
we give coach of the year again to Kale? They should. I mean, he had 5 national finalists and they ran away. They ran laps around the field.
We should,
Shouldn't
you know
shouldn't
what we could
Kale
do,
get it?
Matt? We should do like a top 10 coaches of the year. You know, like
We should.
not just one, but like list them and maybe have reasoning behind why we put who where we put them.
Yeah.
That would be kind of fun. Okay, sorry. Go
Yeah,
keep
because
going. Keep,
I mean, because, on the one hand, Vincenzo Joseph got the minimal amount of credit that you could possibly get for winning 2 national titles, and then Mekhi Lewis wins OW for beating that guy. Like, it's
yeah.
misplaced criteria. Like, you don't give Joseph any credit, then all of a sudden, as soon as you beat the two-time defending champ, that guy's the OW. I would say the same thing. My vote would have been for Bo Nickel to be the OW, but
Yeah.
again, there is bias there. There is, because the coaches vote on this, and so yeah, why not? I mean, it is a good story. I mean, the first national champ for Virginia Tech, and he did do it in pretty controlling
Yeah,
fashion. I'm
yeah,
not going
got
to
the
say
yeah,
it
absolutely.
was dominant
It
fashion,
wasn't
but
dominant. It
he
definitely
won it.
wasn't.
It was in controlling fashion, though.
Yes,
Like
that's fair.
he definitely controlled each match he was in.
Yeah. Hey, so let me put I think people are in trouble. Mekhi Lewis is going to be an issue. I mean, he's won a national title, so I'm kind of maybe late to the party because I definitely didn't pick him. But one thing when he won that I remembered back to it, and what I was thinking was this guy lost to Connor Flynn this year. And Connor Flynn's a Missouri guy. He's a good wrestler, but he wasn't challenging for a national title, right? And
No,
Mekhi
but
Lewis.
that
Well,
was
hold
also
on, hold
early.
on.
Hey, that was
Wait,
also
you're not letting me
early
make my
after
point,
his
Matt.
after his world championship.
Hey, you be quiet. Be quiet. Let me make my point. Damn it. My point is that his rate of improvement. I thought back to the U.S. Open, and I remember watching him because he ended up wrestling his 5th place match against a guy named Tyler Dow, which is a Wisconsin kid. And when he wrestled that match, I went and looked back at his results for the tournament. And I remember thinking, like, he's good, but I wasn't like overly impressed. Okay. So he lost to Caleb Romero 11-6. Caleb Romero was not a varsity wrestler this year. And he lost to Jeremiah Moody, who I'm sure you don't even know who that is, but he's from Wisconsin, so I know who he is. Also, not a varsity wrestler this year, Matt. So he loses to 2 non-varsity wrestlers at the U.S. Open. A month later, he beats Alex Marinelli to make the world team. 2 months after that, he wins the world championship. So, like, his rate of improvement is like, holy crap. I mean, this is, Matt, April last year, he lost to 2 non-varsity wrestlers. Think about that.
And in the span of 8 months, he wins a world title and an NCAA title.
Yes.
That's amazing,
So,
amazing.
like, I mean, maybe he had a really terrible off day, or maybe he was hurt at the US Open, but if he wasn't, then his rate of improvement, because losing to those guys, like, that's just not something an NCAA champion does. You know what I'm saying? So
But
he just
that's
had to get so much
yeah, but
better.
wasn't that his first freestyle tournament, though? I mean, when he won the
Yeah,
world
you
title, I
correct,
think that
was
was his
3rd.
3rd.
Yes, so that was 1st. I'll let me
So
go
you
back.
get
I'm gonna look back at the matches, and I'm gonna see if he got turned or what the deal was. How about that?
okay.
Okay, let's
Well,
see.
let's finish up the rest of the
Hold on.
tournament first, because you're
Jeremiah Moody, takedown turn, takedown, takedown. I'm sorry. Takedown, takedown turn. So he got a bunch of push outs and takedowns. It wasn't like he got laced up to Jeremiah Moody. Jeremiah Moody, again, let me remind you, that is a non-varsity wrestler. Think about that,
yeah,
Matt.
I mean yeah, I mean, that's pretty impressive, how much he's jumped. I mean, the one thing that
And he
really
lost to
stuck out to
Caleb
me.
Romero. Caleb
Yeah,
Romero had a terrible year.
yeah.
Wow.
So I guess my takeaway, from Saturday night was it looked like he was the better version of Vincenzo Joseph. Like, I
Yeah,
I thought the
sure.
one thing that I've been so impressed with Joseph is his impenetrable hips. And
Yeah.
not only did Lewis get through his impenetrable hips, but when Joseph pulled the trigger, he got stone cold stopped by Lewis. Just
Yes.
he couldn't get through his hips at all. I mean, they were just his hips were
Yeah,
amazing.
amazing. I mean, that's eventually how he got the takedown. The other thing was if you watch, and he doesn't get any points for this, the sequence where Alex Marinelli has his leg up, Marinelli was on top and tries to mat return him. Just the way Makai Lewis moves there was super impressive. Impressive to me.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, we're running out of time. We got 3 weights left. The last 2 are not that exciting to me, so we maybe we'll go fast through those. 174, Zahid Valencia, Mark Hall. I heard some people saying they didn't think the takedown in the second period was actually a takedown. The one thing that I was early in the match, I said, wow, I think Zahid's going to win. His attack rate went back up. If you remember last
It
year in their
did.
finals, his attack rate was super high. The dual meet, that just wasn't the case earlier in the year. I think maybe he was out of shape or maybe partying too much. I'm not sure what his deal was. But in this match, even though gave up that first takedown, his attack rate was super high, and I thought that was going to pay off, and it did.
It did. And I mean, we made that comment throughout the tournament. Even during the tournament, we didn't
The
think
Daniel Lewis match.
yeah, we didn't think Zahid's output was that great even throughout the tournament. And then it's like he almost flipped the switch and said, I got to go back to the guy that I know I have to be if I'm gonna have this, if I'm gonna have a shot at Mark Hall, it's not gonna come through 2 or 3 leg attacks over 7 minutes. It's got to be sustained pressure. And almost that's I think his attack rate when it almost negates the pressure like a guy that Mark Hall can create. When he's constantly on his heels and defending, he's not able to be moving forward and exerting, the hand fighting pressure
Yeah.
that he was able to exert in the dual meet.
Yep, exactly. The one thing about Mark Hall that I think, I'm being critical of a guy who's won an NCAA title, been in the finals 2 other times, and won a junior world title. But man, in that third period when Mark has to set up offense to go get him, that is not his forte. He is not very good at that. And that's if you want to say, hey, have a high level of self awareness and what do you need to work on, that's freaking lights are flashing on that one for me if you're Mark Hall.
And it's not just the leg attack itself, because I think he's got those, but it's almost like how do you create the leg attack? How do you create your hand fighting and your setup into your leg attack? Because eh, he did take some shots,
But he wasn't close on any of them.
but he wasn't close, and he wasn't close because he wasn't setting it up. It didn't seem like he had a go-to situation where, I hand fight into a setup into my leg attack. It was just I shot without those other 2 things coming into play.
Absolutely. Okay. Moving on to 184. Drew Foster gets the win. Northern Iowa's first champ since Tony Davis in the year 2000. Big first one under Doug Schwab. I think that's a huge thing for them. I was pretty impressed with Drew Foster the whole way through. Great offense from his feet, really good leg attack finish. And this Dean Foster was a great match in a dual meet. Another great match. So congrats to you and I.
Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, I love ever since Doug Schwab took over at UNI, I just love the brand of wrestling that he puts out on the mat. It's high energy. Those guys go for broke. They're not scared to take risks. And yeah, I mean, I love that. I mean, that's what the fans want to see. And Mark Schwab, or Doug Schwab and the UNI program, they consistently put high entertainment wrestling out on the mat every time. So I'm really happy for him. Great to see them get a national title, and yeah,
Okay. Last one, Bo Nickel, Colin Moore. We kind of almost discussed this earlier without discussing it. Um, I think that, Bo Nickel didn't like go out to finish strong, if you will. Um, just got the win. It was just, he's gonna beat Colin Moore. I don't know, maybe 100 out of 100. So yeah, I don't really have too much to say about that.
no, I mean that just yeah, I mean I'm with you. I think he has just proved time and time again he was head and shoulders, you know, the class of this weight class and was just dominant. And I think yeah, there's not much to be said about that match. It kind of just unfolded the way you kind of thought it was going to unfold, probably even less so than we thought. We probably thought there was going to be more points.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing, Matt, and we're gonna get out of here, and then tomorrow we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about the team race and what it looks like moving into next year. Is that Bo Nickel called me out on Twitter? Do you see that?
You bel what's that about?
I listen, I'm gonna take it as a sign of respect because I've been out of the game for a long time. I'm 12 years graduated. I'm a 174 pounder. He's a 197 pounder. So I'm gonna take it as a sign of respect that he thinks I'm worth his time. Um, and
Hey,
so
there's there doesn't seem to be any UFC fighter that wants to call you out. As soon
that's
as you
true.
bring them up, they're running for the woods. At least you have somebody in the
At least
world
Bo
that wants
Nickel
a
will
piece
do it.
of you,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah,
So, I would have to get it cleared with the UFC that you have to do those things. I got to figure out what my next fight is. And but I did invite him to Wisconsin. I would love to work out with Bo Nickel. I think it'll be a blast. So we'll see if we can't set something up and make something work. I got a few ideas going through my head. So that's a lot of fun. I appreciate that he did that. And I'm gonna take it as a sign of respect more than anything else.
total respect.
So, okay, tomorrow, um, Matt, we are going to be discussing team performances and what these teams look like heading into 2019, 2020, and all too early preview of next year.
That sounds good. I mean, there's tons still to wrap up, but plenty to look ahead to as well. So looking forward to that.
All right, Matt, talk to you soon.
All right, see you, Ben.
Bye.